This is the roadmap showing how design drives profits. Keeping it very simple for clarity's sake, design drives innovation and in turn brand value and loyalty, which leads to the holy grail in the business world, profits. So if all of this is true, why do companies have so much trouble with creativity? Marty Neumeier probably said it best, because creativity is right-brained and strategy is left-brained. So, what differentiates design and designers? Okay, we're back here. And this time, let's engage the other side of the brain, the right side. So the right side of the brain is intuitive, creative, spatial, and visual. And I'm speaking to the chorus here. All of you are quite in tune with this side of the brain. But let's articulate what differentiates the right-brainers, and more specifically, designers. What differentiates designers is emotion. Our economy is moving beyond commodity goods, and businesses are seeking ways to connect emotionally with their customers. I'll quote from the Interbrand 2009 report. This experience revolution is all about emotions, not just transient emotions like happy or sad, but deep emotions like community, belonging, feelings of self-worth, and individuality. Brands that can use real experiences to tap into these kinds of emotions will open up a wellspring of goodwill, loyalty, and ultimately, value. Through training and experience, designers cultivate a different lens through which to view the world. The next two slides illustrate the unique viewpoint that designers have and create. For example, designers have to understand both space and negative space. While we're all familiar with the FedEx logo, there is a contextual design within its more obvious lettering. So do you guys see anything between the E and the X? Right. So whether you've noticed this before or for the first time today, this always gives me kind of a thrill. The designer put an arrow between the E and the X to symbolize the company's attributes of speed and precision. This logo shows how negative space can have a message and how designers can uniquely give voice to a company's core mission in something as everyday as a logo. I love this next example since it essentially ties together what I'm saying is a designer's value add in a simple, beautiful graphic. So which did you see first? The dollar signs or the hearts? But it's not only about the eye, it's also about the heart. What a designer often brings to the table is empathy. Designers use empathy to see the world through others' eyes and feel their needs. Now, I think this is a great example of how empathy informs design. How do you prevent your grandma and grandpa from confusing their medicines? Deborah Adler redesigned the standard prescription bottle, a container that had looked the same for almost 60 years prior, from something that was difficult to read, impossible to open, and prone to confusion, and transforming it into a very recognizable container that clearly identifies the drug, dosage, and patient, and can be safely opened by elderly patients. Adler's design was recently named one of the top design innovations of the decade. I love this example because it shows how design can solve a problem, a really important problem that impacts real people's lives in a manner that's also commercially lucrative. Even with a trained eye, it can be hard to see what doesn't exist in a cluttered marketplace. Take coffee, for example, a very crowded marketplace. Yet Starbucks has been able to distinguish itself not only by offering a great cup of coffee, but a distinctive and consistent experience that keeps you coming back for more. Furthermore, did caffeine addicts know that they needed a $30 cup of coffee? Now they do. Looking at my own field, interior design, the term experience economy truly resonates. The term experience economy is a term first heard in the late 90s to describe an economy where it's not just good enough to have a good product. The experience surrounding the product needs to be great also. Starbucks is so fascinating to me. An American company offering an Italian barista experience that has been so popular that has expanded to all corners of the globe. Success as an American company in a foreign land requires the study of people, an anthropological approach, if you will. For example, customers in Korea come in groups and rarely visit alone. Japanese customers, on the other hand, generally come in by themselves, but then in specific neighborhoods, they come in groups. Starbucks is attempting to design stores that resonate with these local habits and local cultural vernacular. So, calling all designers, own your own destinies. Okay, we're back here again. And long story short, after now advocating that right-brainers will rule the future, I'm going to take a step back again and say, okay, while a useful metaphor, it's actually a little more complicated than that. The truth is, what you really need to do is get your left brain in sync with the right and take a whole-brained approach to design. Traditional design education typically has fallen short in terms of educating students about business and human factors engineering in a way that can translate seamlessly into the constraints of the real world. Too many designers falter because they fail to take into account financial, engineering, and other constraints that are very real. A whole-brained approach requires a multidisciplinary toolkit so that you can, and I hope this isn't too touchy-feely, you can own your own destiny. So when I was studying brain science at MIT, I learned about this part of the brain that nobody ever really talks about, called the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum connects the right brain with the left, and that's the part of the brain that designers must cultivate. So how do you cultivate your corpus callosum and own your own destiny? Well, I think the answer is by becoming a T-shaped individual. A T-shaped individual is a McKinsey construct that describes a person who has deep expertise in one functionality and then a broader empathy across a larger array of disciplines. So even while your core competency might be design, you can have a well-rounded, business-minded arsenal that will equip you with the skills, confidence, and vernacular you need to communicate your ideas in a way that can be valued by people who favor the other side of the brain, people who also happen to dominate the boardrooms and management of most companies, at least for right now. In other words, with the right toolkit, a designer who's T-shaped and uses a whole-brained approach to their work can serve as the corpus callosum of the business world. Just don't forget that as a designer, you can make your T's as funky as you want them to be. I think it's telling that some of the most respected graduate and business schools, like the D School at Stanford, the Rotman School of Management in Toronto, and the CCA, are emphasizing a whole-brained approach today to business administration, offering multidisciplinary programs which integrate the studies of design, finance, and entrepreneurship. That's because business leaders are now learning that there's more to business than just the traditional bottom line. Emotion and a human connection are driving consumer decision-making in an increasingly technical and isolating world. Design education is also changing. For example, one mantra often heard around the halls of SCAD, my alma mater, is very telling and inspiring. No starving artists. To this end, SCAD is on the vanguard of art and design education by taking a whole-brained approach to their curriculum, making sure that graduates have the professional skills and real-world knowledge to thrive in this new economy. Through intensive corporate outreach and partnering with companies to host design competitions requiring presentations to C-level management, SCAD throws its designers into the interdisciplinary mix early on, taking a hands-on, whole-brained, real-world approach. I'd like to quote something that the president of SCAD, Paula Wallace, wrote in her blog for the Huffington Post a few months back. Design is for the 21st century what a degree in philosophy was for the 18th century. It provides a healthy worldview. Oh, and employers are looking for leaders to think in just that way. Just ask Dan Pink, who said, the MFA is the new MBA. So I'd love to leave you with just a couple of key thoughts. First, it's never been a better time to be a designer. The world is yours. All your unique attributes, emotion, empathy, creativity, combined with a trained eye that's linked to your heart, give all you right-brainers a true competitive advantage in tomorrow's innovation economy. And perhaps even the more important takeaway is that a multidisciplinary approach serves as a magic wand and will enable you to own your own destiny as a designer. So take your in-depth functional expertise in design and supplement that with a broader real-world perspective that will get your ideas and ideals realized. That is, take a whole-brained approach to be your best T, and you can truly change the world. Thank you very much.